right, perfect. Again, thank you, folks. Good morning, good afternoon. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules, especially with the holidays coming up, to join our November PizzaCast. With us this month, we have our great partners at WatchGuard. We're going to be covering a various set of topics, obviously in the cybersecurity space. Mostly related to their FireCloud product and kind of their zero trust methodology that they're helping roll out to customers to secure their users, across various ecosystems. Ryan, you could proceed with the slide here real quick. All right, folks. Again, definitely see some familiar faces here. For those of you who are, maybe this is your first PizzaCast, we're very happy to have you. But just wanted to kind of give just a very, high level 10,000 foot view of what we offer here at All In Technology before I hand the ball over to WatchGuard to let them, do their presentation here today. So with All In Technology, we are a managed service provider, IT consulting firm that's comprised of various engineers, IT strategists that have come together to deliver technology solutions to help enterprises of all sizes across the country accomplish their business objectives, right? So we do kind of follow, we do have, various core competencies as you see on the screen here. Our main would be, managed services, co-managed services, and various tool sets that we help deploy to our end users to manage their environments and help them accomplish their goals. Obviously, the cybersecurity component where we have our great partners such as WatchGuard, various other OEMs and manufacturers that help us secure core to edge for our customers and end users. Microsoft Cloud Services, so that's your O365 environment, your Azures of the world, Entra, and things of that nature, MFA. Communication services, typical UC. Obviously, there's some organizations that maybe in a cloud environment, or could potentially still be on-prem with the the Avayas and the Mitels of the world. Definitely big in that component as well. Traditional network infrastructure services, which is mainly a conversation that we're going to be covering today. And then government and compliance services, mainly CMMC. We have a lot of government customers in that space as well. But again, we certainly thank you guys for taking the time to join us today, and I'll hand the ball over to Ryan Poultry with WatchGuard to let him do the presentation.
Hey, thank you, Nico, and thank you to the All In Technology team for having us today. We're happy to be here on the PizzaCast with you guys to talk a little bit about our new product we call FireCloud. We'll dive deep into the FireCloud and the zero trust network architecture that a lot of customers are adjusting and shifting their networks to. But first, my name is Ryan Poultry. I'm the Director of Product Management for FireCloud, the FireCloud product here at WatchGuard. I've got a long history with our network security line. I've been in the product management team for our Wi-Fi product, worked on our Firebox products, and moved over to the FireCloud product when we started building that new technology. Before I was in the product team, I was a sales engineer. I covered what we called the North Central region, Minnesota, Iowa, the Dakotas, Wisconsin. Before that, I was a partner to WatchGuard and sold WatchGuard technologies to customers and managed their networks. So a lot of background with WatchGuard, a lot of experience both deploying and managing, but also now building and maintaining our product lines. So definitely want this to be as interactive as you guys would like. If you have a question or you have a comment or would like to share like experience you've had maybe going through any transition to zero trust or the way that networks are evolving, feel free to add comments in the chat or even raise your hands. You're welcome to participate in the presentation if you would like and feel comfortable to do so. So it's a super simple agenda. We're going to do a little bit of background on what zero trust means to WatchGuard, because as everyone on the presentation knows, technology terms, especially in the cybersecurity space, kind of means whatever you want it to mean. So we'll kind of level set on what this is. We'll talk about our new FireCloud product, and then we're going to do a live demo of configuring and using FireCloud to get access to resources and secure remote users' internet traffic. So we'll pray that the demo gods are on our side today and that everything works. But first, let's jump into this idea of zero trust and why it's becoming a topic that a lot of people are talking about and why we're having webinars about it, today. So there's a distinct problem that we're trying to solve with zero trust. Remote workers, which is a new norm for cybersecurity IT administrators to deal with, and the explosion of cloud applications have kind of broken the traditional security paradigm. Network perimeters are obsolete now. Yes, we still have perimeters for things that don't move, right? Your printers, your CCTV cameras, your server infrastructure that maybe you have on-prem, but your users, they have no concept of a perimeter anymore, and it adds a huge burden on IT administrators to figure out how to secure those users, but also how to provide them a kind of a transparent security posture, no matter where they are. And it's a huge challenge that a lot of people are dealing with right now. VPNs are slow. In a lot of cases, they're over permissive, and they create a lot of vectors for attack. So SSL VPNs traditionally very popular with customers, but they've got their own issues. They've got some vulnerabilities. They've got performance issues, and they're kind of clunky and slow from time to time. A lot of the networks that I've worked on with customers, when they do create VPNs, they are very wide open. So I provide VPN for my user. They basically get access to the entire network, which potentially could be a risk for you as a network administrator when that person you're giving access to maybe could get breached when they're off the network. And then the last one on that, creating attack highways, right? When you open up SSL VPN or IPsec or other tools to provide access back to your network, your firewall has to open those ports up. It has to be listening on those ports all the time. And attackers are starting to use those as a vector to get access to networks. And so it's another risk that we have to deal with. The third bullet, shadow IT, SaaS sprawl, right? The idea of understanding what applications are corporate approved, what applications are maybe okay for people to use, and what applications are not okay, right? There's a list of applications 3,000 miles long that people use every single day that their administrators may know or may not know that they're using. And with AI becoming more popular, definitely going to fall into this area of making sure that people know what applications and what sites people are using, even when they're off the network. And finally, IT teams, the folks on the call here that you're managing these networks, everything's becoming more complex. Compliance, cyber insurance, the risks continue to grow. And so all of these problems kind of rounded together is this kind of driver behind moving people to more of the zero trust architecture to help try to solve some of these problems. So when we kind of think about what's at risk, when you look at a remote worker, it's really about how much easier it is for a bad guy to get access to that user, their traffic, their applications that they're using. Things like man-in-the-middle attacks are real threats now, right? If you go to a coffee shop and work, if you're on the train working, on an airplane, at the library, or even at home, right? There's all of this extra network between the user and the resources they're trying to get to that the bad guys can leverage pieces of to get access to those users. So things like phishing credential theft is becoming big. continuing to be big. It's always been big. Ransomware continues to be a vector of attack that people are using. Data loss and exfiltration of data through their SaaS applications. And then again, we always kind of want to roll this back to the administrator. All these things add layers of complexity for you to manage and create all these different complex tools that you have to use to secure these different vectors that the bad guys are going after. So we got a poll. We're going to shoot it into the polls for teams. The question in the poll, is have you looked at your firewall policies since you installed it? We hope the answer is yes. But definitely something like auditing your firewall configs regularly, things like that. If it's not something you're doing today, definitely something you could talk to the team here at All In Technologies. They could definitely help with this. But so why are we having this webinar now? So it's about the urgency. So these risks are real. When we're talking to customers and other partners and analysts in the market, people are trying to solve these problems, and not everybody's successful in the route that they're going to when they're trying to solve these. So just some of the statistics we see, 80% of remote workers today lack what they consider enterprise grade security and visibility to that traffic that they're accessing when they're offsite. 90% of small and medium enterprise businesses are running what they call a hybrid network. So you'll hear me talk about hybrid networks in the presentation quite a bit. What that means is you have workers on site, you have workers remote, you have applications running locally on-prem servers or workstations, you have cloud applications running. And so this idea of hybrid is that expansion outside of your perimeter for both your users and your applications. And then only about 16% of the organizations these analysts are talking to have fully adopted a zero trust tool because of kind of the complexity and the cost of these tools. So we're going to talk a little bit about how FireCloud addresses these kind of three urgent points as we go through the presentation. So just a little bit about WatchGuard. So WatchGuard's a portfolio security company. We'll be very focused today on the network security. On the network security piece, we'll be talking about our firewalls and our SASE product, our zero trust platform. But through the presentation, you'll see how WatchGuard's layering other technologies and capabilities into our SASE architecture to deliver that zero trust technology, to deliver the visibility and the remediation capabilities that you need to protect these users through things like our XDR platform as well. So just kind of give you an idea of what WatchGuard does. Got a lot of different technologies in our stack. So the first thing I'm going to ask is for everyone on the call to kind of shift the way you're thinking, and maybe you already have, but for today at least, let's shift the way we think about security. Today's security is really about protecting your network, right? Putting walls around your organization and its physical location to provide a secure place for your users. But for now, let's kind of shift that paradigm. So instead of being network centric, let's think about an individual user, individual device, and how do we build that same layer of security and protection and access for every single individual user, no matter where they're located at in the world. So to do this, to kind of adopt the zero trust idea, we need to embrace remote workers. Yes, not every organization allows like full remote work where people never come to an office, but most organizations have changed to at least allow some flexibility in the way that their employees work. And so we have to be able to protect these remote workers and the cloud applications and the on-prem applications that they need access to. Again, we're going to shift that perimeter to the device away from the network. And we're going to talk about how FireCloud can help you deliver this. Um, and when we're looking at the network stack from WatchGuard, again, today we're going to be talking about FireCloud, but it's not just this one product alone that delivers zero trust security. So FireCloud provides the network layer, the ability to monitor and restrict traffic, to give visibility to the traffic that the users doing or using, and providing access to resources. But on top of that, WatchGuard has integrated our unified identity layer, where you can integrate your IDPs, so Okta, Duo, Entra ID, WatchGuard's own MFA products to provide that user-centric level of security. We also have the device layers. So that at this layer, it's about managing your devices, the applications that are running on those devices. And then finally, the detection and response layer, right? If something does happen, can we highlight it quickly? Can we show you what's wrong and automate, or at least provide a very easy way to respond to that threat that's happening within the organization? So we got another poll here that they're going to post. So if you have plans to make some changes in your security solution and your firewall in 2026. So I think Jay is going to pop another poll up for you guys today to answer. We're going to keep moving though through. Okay. So this, just so everyone knows, if you're not watching the chat, the second question is in the original poll, but it's the second slide. So there's a little arrow at the bottom that you can pop over to the next poll. So go ahead and do that. As we're talking through the use cases of FireCloud. So FireCloud, again, is our new technology at WatchGuard. It fits into that SASE SSE market, where we're providing that software security for remote workers. And so FireCloud is offered in 2 different licenses, covering 2 kind of different use cases. So at a high level, FireCloud Internet Access is a service that you can protect remote workers when they're accessing public resources. So a public resource would be internet or cloud applications. So something that's not locally on your network. Through this, we can protect remote or traveling workers regardless of the network they're connected to. We can provide real-time visibility to the traffic that they're accessing and the services that they're accessing while they're remote. And we can minimize risks, things like credential compromise, machine compromise, and data loss through implementing this service to your remote workers. The second license is called FireCloud Total Access, and this includes all of the capabilities of internet access, but it adds on the ability to expose and provide access to private resources. So resources that you have on your network that you want to provide access to these remote workers, regardless of where they are. It could be a SQL server. It could be a local website. It could be remote desktop. It will show you in the demo and stuff how you set that up and how easy it is. But total access is kind of that combination of securing remote workers when they're on the internet or accessing something public, and when they're accessing private resources you need to provide access to them for. So when I've been working with partners and customers deploying FireCloud, we're finding that the first thing they're trying to solve is a better solution for VPN. Like that's really what the problem in their head is. They're not happy with their current VPN.
I'll go get it.
And
Pizza's
so
here? Okay, thanks, man.
they want a better solution to the traditional VPN. And some of the challenges they're running into, VPNs are not used when their users are accessing the cloud or cloud applications. So if you have a user that just turns on a VPN when they need to access local resources, the other 90% of the time, that user is not protected as well, right? So if that's the case, then the bad guy can get into that machine, get access to that user's information, and use that as a way to infiltrate like your network, which would be bad. And so FireCloud in this new zero trust approach, it's really all about always on, always protecting, always monitoring what the users are doing without impacting their ability to do their jobs, right? So it shouldn't slow down their access to the internet. It shouldn't slow down their access to Microsoft 365, but we can maintain that visibility and the control over their internet activities and the resources that they're getting access to. So FireCloud is about extending what we traditionally saw as network protection out to those remote workers in a way that is very low impact to the user. A couple of the value pieces with total access. So again, that always on protection, continuously securing the users, and also continuously providing visibility into what they're doing. Well, FireCloud by default does full SSL inspection on the user's traffic so that we can see inside that encrypted traffic. Now you can create exceptions and things like that when we need to, but it does allow that deep layer of visibility into the traffic to make sure we're catching the bad guys, because the bad guys are smart, right? They're going to use encrypted traffic to get the infection into the machine or get access to the machine. So we need to be able to see that. And through FireCloud's ability to do SSL inspection and also certificate management for those users, it's really simple and easy for administrators to manage. The zero trust approach, again, including things like that identity and that zero trust conditional access for those users, and the idea of least privilege really takes your security to another level, right? So if there is a compromise, we provide all these different layers where we can catch that compromise and take action against it. Technologies like FireCloud and other SASE products do provide optimized performance. Today, traditional VPNs all connect back to a corporate firewall. So no matter where that user is in the world, they're always connecting back to that one place. Where FireCloud and other SASE products are deploying these worldwide POP infrastructure that allows the user to get access to the data they're trying to get to in a more optimized and higher performing way. And then finally, kind of that streamlining the management, right? And so FireCloud is configured and managed, and we'll show you this in the demo, all inside a WatchGuard cloud, right along your firewall. The user identity and the zero trust policies are all in one place for you to configure, monitor, and turn on things like reporting and automated remediation for events that may happen to your users. So we'll kind of go through a little bit of that in the demo, but those are kind of some of the key values. As we're going through the demo, we're going to be talking about 3 components that make up FireCloud. So the first component is the connection manager. So this is that lightweight agent that's running on your machines, your remote workers' computers, your computers, anybody's. This agent manages the authentication. It does the routing and the connections to our points of presence, or what we call our POPs. It shares the policies and the security communications between that machine and our infrastructure. So for a user, they're going to have this tiny little FireCloud agent running on the machine. The second component is the POP, our points of presence. We have deployed global points of presence where you connect to. This is the enforcement point for security settings. So if you're blocking a website or you're applying a route to a private resource, you're collecting the logs, these POPs are kind of that point where we're doing that. So having this global points of presence is going to optimize performance, minimize your latency, provide access to people around the world. So Danny asked, how many POPs are there? Today, there's 7 around the world. We're planning on adding an additional 5 next year, but it's really driven by opportunity. So if we find a customer or a partner that has, a large number of users, or they're in an area where we're not getting the performance that we want, we can spin up a POP in about on our end, it takes us about 12 minutes to spin up a POP. Obviously, there's business processes and things like that we have to go through. But in a couple of days, we could have a POP up and running for a customer if we needed to. But right now, there's 2 POPs in the United States, and then 5 POPs distributed elsewhere around the world. The last component is what we call our FireCloud gateways. Today, it's a virtual appliance that runs on your network. This is an area where we're definitely going to see a lot of additional capabilities early next year in Q1. We're going to use our WatchGuard firewalls. So if you are a WatchGuard firewall customer, thank you. But you'll be able to multi-purpose that. It can be your perimeter firewall and your gateway for FireCloud. So that's going to be an option. And we also have a software gateway that can run directly on a Windows server. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the demo. But these gateways are what is exposing the resources from your network up to our POP infrastructure. So you don't have to open up SSL VPN to the world on your firewall anymore. These virtual gateways are going to make a direct connection from your network to our POP, and then the users will have access to those resources through our POPs. So you can really close off that perimeter now. You don't have to open up all of those additional ports to allow access for users to get to them. And these POPs, these gateways, they're going to provide access to the resources. They're going to handle all of the authentication and the routing to get to those resources behind the gateway. Today, we support VMware, Hyper-V, and Proxmox for the virtual gateways. And again, a lot more really cool technology coming in Q1 to make it even easier for our customers to deploy this technology. Within our infrastructure, when a user connects to FireCloud, we kind of run through these 3 buckets, right? The first bucket, and when we're talking about going through this flow, these are our points of enforcement for that user to get access to the internet or to a resource. So a user connects to FireCloud. On the back end of our technology, we're using WireGuard for the VPN technology. So it's super fast and it's super secure. But we go through this layer of identity. So do you authenticate? Are you the right people? Are you allowed to connect to this service? And again, we support, all kinds of identities through Entra ID, Active Directory, third-party IDPs like Okta or Duo. We also offer cloud users directly created and managed in WatchGuard Cloud. The second layer is around policy decisions. So, okay, I know you're Ryan now, and you're part of this user group because the identity provider told us that you are. What policies do we apply to you, right? So, user group Ryan's internet access, we're going to route you through this policies. Part of those policies are applying all of our different security services. So one of the things that makes WatchGuard unique in this market is all of the security services we use on our firewalls, our local perimeter firewalls, are also used in our SASE solution. So we're using IPS, botnet, we're using web blocker, application control, our zero trust malware sandboxing, all available geolocation, all available in FireCloud, allowing administrators to create this consistent security policy for their remote workers and their on-prem devices. But as the user flows through these, we check, all the security settings. Are they allowed to get to that website? Is the website secure? All these different things. And then we provide access to the internet or those SaaS applications. To expand that to private resources, kind of goes through the exact same flow, right? But as part of that policy decision, now we're including what private resources do they have access to? So does Ryan have access to the ERP system or the financial system or the data stores? And at that policy decision point, based on the access rules you create, we'll provide access to those resources through our VPNs, through our POPs, for the users to get access to them. Within WatchGuard Cloud, really focused on simple management and operations. So you can deploy and manage FireCloud, all of your gateways from WatchGuard Cloud. You can define your private resources like we talked about. You can configure these access rules that are built around your identity and what you can do. And then you can install and manage the agent directly in WatchGuard Cloud as well, trying to keep it really simple, but also, highly secure for those remote workers when they're traveling around the world. We also provide pretty good detailed risk and threat visibility and control. We provide things like security reports and traffic reports, usage reports for all the activities that these users are doing while they're out in the world. So we can see as an organization, what kind of threats are we seeing? What kind of block sites are we seeing? Or what kind of applications are being used by our users that maybe they shouldn't. And we can make decisions, really easily based off of this information. So we'll show you a little bit of that in the demo if we have time to get to that. But deep reporting, and again, one of the key things here in the reporting is it's always the service is always running, and we're doing that full decryption to get this level of visibility into that remote workers traffic. So kind of talking about why FireCloud wins, right? So FireCloud is a unified SASE alternative. So in the SASE market, you'll hear a lot about replacing your firewall, or you don't need hardware anymore. And WatchGuard does not feel like that's true, right? A lot of organizations still need a perimeter firewall. They need to protect their IoT. They need to protect their printers and their things like that, or their users that are on site need to be protected. So WatchGuard's kind of built this hybrid approach where you can use the perimeter firewall and our FireCloud, our SASE solution together to build a really strong security story. We provide that unified platform that brings everything together. Our secure web gateways, our firewall as a service, our zero trust network access, all kind of into one place, minimizing the tool sprawl that you can see with other vendors. Again, simplified is kind of our key thing at WatchGuard. We want to provide this service in a simple way to manage and deploy and monitor everything. And that the last one is, this is a good path to zero trust because it allows you to do it in steps, right? So you don't have to do all of it at once. You can start with some users, get it rolled out. You can add some more users to it when you want to. Maybe someday you are the right kind of organization that can get rid of their firewall, but a lot of people will never get to that point. So we got the last poll, and it's going to be available in the same poll. And hopefully we got the issue with submitting it taken care of, but if not, that's okay. So go ahead and take a look. Toggle over to the third poll. And the question is around, if you do have plans to upgrade, are you kind of sticking with the vendor you got, or is there an opportunity to look at other vendors to solve the needs you have coming up in 2026? All right, and then we're going to jump to the demo. Before I do that, I was trying to keep track of the questions in the chat. I think I got the one that was focused for me. But any other questions from anyone on the group so far about the kind of the state that we're seeing a lot of organizations in, or the technology itself? All right. If not, we'll move on to the demo here.
Brian, looks like we have a question from Sean.
Yeah, I see that one. So the question is, so FireCloud would replace me using a solution like Nord Layer secure internet access for travelers. When do I want to use a VPN home run solution or a physical site? Less risk. Yeah, so it's a great question. So yes, FireCloud would be a competitive solution to something like NordVPN. Other vendors we see in this market a lot are Zscaler, Cato Networks, Perimeter 81, and then surprisingly, more of the traditional VPN solutions, right? Like even FireCloud or firewalls that WatchGuard sells include traditional SSL VPN or IPsec. And so FireCloud's going to provide an alternative to those solutions. When you use a VPN solution or a physical site, it's really dependent on the user. So, or on the organization, right? There are a lot of organizations that will, they'll install FireCloud for their remote workers, and they will, when they're off the network, FireCloud will work for them, secure them, and work for them. One of the features we're working on building right now is when they come back behind the WatchGuard firewall, FireCloud will communicate with the firebox itself and say, hey, I see that you're providing the protection for this network. So it's actually going to turn off FireCloud, let that firewall protect that user when they're behind it. So we're trying to build a solution that's very flexible, because I think the answer to your question, Sean, is every organization is going to be different. The balance is exactly what you have in there. Having it turned on is less risk. There's more layers. There's additional technology that's protecting those users. But as anytime you put, a security solution in place, there is a little bit of a performance hit. So, but what we've seen with FireCloud is it's not even noticeable to the user in most cases that it's running for them. So for when they're remote, 100% turn on FireCloud. When they come back to your network and you are still providing that perimeter security for those networks, that's really when it becomes an organization specific answer. But the way that I have started working with a lot of partners is this idea of when they come back to the network, FireCloud actually steps down and lets the perimeter of the network provide the security and also the routing to get access to services. So it's a benefit of kind of having a full WatchGuard stack, is we can have our devices talk to each other and do that kind of thing. But like I said, very specific to the users. I'll show you guys how we integrate into Azure AD. or Enter ID in the demo, but yes, we do have direct integrations to Enter ID with Microsoft. And then Robert, I think, is asking a question of the group. If you guys have any compliance requirements or cybersecurity, things that you're working on, because FireCloud is definitely a solution that can help check a lot of those boxes for compliance and cybersecurity, especially if you do have that remote workforce. So if you have more questions, please feel free to keep them coming as we kind of go through the demo here. So this is WatchGuard Cloud. For those of you who have never used it, you can manage all of our security services through here, including our firewalls, our Wi-Fi, our endpoint products, our MFA products. We're going to stay pretty focused on just the technologies that are kind of leveraging zero trust used in the zero trust story. But if you have other questions, I'm sure the all-in technology guys are happy to talk to you after the webinar. So in here, we can configure FireCloud. So I've got multiple users here. It'd look a little bit different for you as an individual organization. But in here, we'll kind of start with the authentication piece, since that was a question. In here, we offer a couple of different options for authentication. We have a direct integration with our AuthPoint, which is it uses SAML on the back end, but you can connect directly with AuthPoint. We can support third-party SAML integrations. So this is going to be used for if you're connecting to Duo or Okta or other third-party IDPs that use SAML. And then the third option is our cloud directory services. So this one is going to be used for if you want to manage local users, like in WatchGuard Cloud, we can do that through here. If you want to connect directly to Enter ID and synchronize your Enter ID users, you can connect that through here as well. Or if you want to connect to your Active Directory, you can synchronize that through here as well. And so FireCloud can connect to all three of these options. And you can choose kind of how you want to connect that identity to our product as that layer of identity in our flow that we kind of went through in the demo. The second piece is managing your endpoints. So how do you get this out to all of your endpoints? Inside of WatchGuard Cloud, we have this endpoint installation here. Today, we support Windows and Mac. We are working on releasing iOS and Android next year, early first half of next year. We're working on finalizing dates, but we're really pushing as close to Q1 as we can to release both iOS and Android. But in here, you can actually come in and you can deploy your gateways from here. You can manage your endpoints. And we also, if you have multiple products from WatchGuard, you can also come in here and you can choose, like, I want to install my endpoint products on this device. I want to install my FireCloud products on this device. Maybe I don't want FireCloud on my servers. So we allow you to configure that through here as well. And so once we're done setting up FireCloud, this will get pushed out to these machines that are supposed to get it, and not to the machines that are not supposed to get FireCloud. So configuring FireCloud itself, pretty simple and straightforward, but we're going to kind of just walk through it here. So this top box, the security services box, is where we configure all of our security services. These services, again, are going to be applied to users' traffic when they're going out to the internet or they're accessing resources. So we've got our gateway antivirus, APT blocker, botnet detection, intrusion prevention, block sites, and block ports. And you can go and you can drill into any of these individual services, customize and configure those. And here I just blocked nba.com as a demo. I'll show you guys what it looks like to hit a blocked website. Um, for by default, again, we're decrypting all of the traffic that users are accessing through FireCloud. So we do provide a place in here to add exceptions. You can add exceptions to all kinds of different things like web blocker exceptions, block site exceptions. The one that most people are using right now are the decryption exceptions. So if you have a banking website or something that doesn't like to be decrypted and then re-encrypted on the way through, we can create these exceptions to make sure that your users can get access to the sites that they need. The last two, geolocation. So this is tracking the location of the network traffic, not the user. So where is the traffic coming from? Where is it going to? Maybe I don't want network traffic, coming or going from Russia. You can configure that in here. And then the last one is our content filtering. In here, we can configure our web blocker. So what websites are people allowed to go to? And then what applications are people allowed to use? So you can block or allow access to websites based on their URLs. And then we can allow or block access to applications based on their application types in here. And so I'll show you how these settings are applied in the access rules. But this is kind of that first step of getting all of the security services configured. And again, all of these same services are all available in the Firebox. So you can, make them, you can mirror these settings so that the users get the exact same security regardless of where they are. The second step is setting up your resources. So assuming that you're a user that has private resources, you need to provide access to them for your remote workers. We're going to deploy our gateways. So again, virtual gateway is our primary gateway we have available for you right now. You deploy the virtual machine. It sits behind your firewall today, and it can expose any resources that are on that network. So if you've got a remote desktop and a file share and a SQL server, all of those can be deployed through the virtual gateway. One of the options we have in testing right now is our server gateway. This is a software you install directly on the server, and you can expose that server itself as a resource. So, so these are a couple options. So Sean had a question, does FireCloud have a presence in China? Today, we do not have a POP in China. But we do have plans to get one added into China next year, Sean. So we've actually got similar feedback from a lot of customers that they do a lot of business traveling in China. And right now it would be probably connecting to Singapore would be my guess. I don't know exactly how it maps, but yeah, the ability to get a POP in there is something that we're looking at adding next year. So we're going to set up the gateway, and then inside the gateway, we define our resources. So I've got 3 resources configured in here already, but a resource is configured by giving it a name, an FQDN to access that resource, the local IP address, and the port and the protocol that it's used to access it. So this is where there's kind of this fundamental shift from traditional VPN where you would say, hey, Ryan's got access to the VPN and he gets access to everything on the network. With FireCloud, it's very specific. So Ryan gets access to the network, but only this application or this resource using this specific port and protocol. So it does add a little bit of additional work setting it up, but it does provide a huge improvement in the security posture for those users. When you create the resources, obviously you have to add it to an access rule that says this user is allowed to access this resource. If you forget to add one, it will show you in the UI that, hey, this resource isn't part of an access rule. you can come in here, you can really easily say, oh, I want to add this to a resource, this resource to an access rule, and you can add it there. The last piece of the configuration is the access rules. Very similar to a firewall policy or an access control policy. You're going to say, what user group is this for? Do I want, these are my security services that I want to apply to this user group's traffic. And then these are the resources this user group gets access to. So right now we've got these two resources for the user. Once this is all configured, you can deploy your agents out to your machines. And then that user is ready to start accessing both the internet and those resources through their device. What the user will see is this WatchGuard connection manager. It gives you a status, you're connected, you're disconnected. That lets the user know that they're connected. The administrator can allow them to disconnect if you choose to, or we can hide this option so that the user always stays connected to FireCloud all the time. But if I go to the internet here, go to, well, actually, let's do this first. So you don't know that, so you know that I'm not cheating. So if I look at this server or this computer, sorry, wrong. Let me minimize this. Come on, mouse. There we go. You can see that this computer is on a 10 dot network. My resources are on a 192.168.5 network. So they're accessing these resources all through FireCloud. If you do like a IP config all, you'll actually see the network adapters that are built. These FireCloud virtual switches are built, and this gives us that connection to the FireCloud POPs to access these resources. So one of the resources I set up for this user is RDP. We're also blocking some websites. So if I go to nba.com, you're going to see that it's blocked. It's part of my block sites list. And this user is part of this access rule that has that block sites list applied to it. So that's kind of what the user would see if they access something that they're not supposed to on the internet. If you gave that user access to a remote desktop, for example, the user can RDP right from their machine through our FireCloud tunnels and get access to that server. In this case, the server that's we provided that remote access to. We can also do like file shares. So I've got like a file share saved as a desktop. If you look at this full, oops, here you open that. If you look at this full file share here, you can see that first part, this FQDN is my resource that I created for that file share right there. So it's accessing that file share through that FireCloud connection. The last thing I can show you is kind of how fast these things work, right? So if I go back to my browser and I try to hit this domain, it's going to not work. And so why is this not working? If we go back and look at the configuration for FireCloud, remember there was that one resource that was not added to a rule. That's this FQDN that I just hit in my browser. So if I add this to this access rule and I save it, I can go back to that machine. There we go. Go back to this machine. I'm gonna reopen my my internet. Oh, come on, connection. So there's nothing cached. And I'm going to go to that, and now I have access to my web UI for my AP on that network. One of the other cool things is it is very specific. So like we said, it's based on port and protocol. So if I do HTTP, it's going to block me because I only allow access to this resource using 443 HTTPS. So that's kind of why that specific level of protocol and port becomes important, because it keeps, very granular access to these services.
Hey Ryan, really quick, with just about 2 minutes left here,
Yeah.
I wanted to just open the floor to maybe some closing questions, and we definitely have a couple closing comments here as well.
Yeah,
but yeah, folks, please feel free to come off chat or drop some some final questions here into the chat. Yeah, we just want to make sure we're conscious of everyone's time today, and definitely super grateful for the hour here. But yeah, if anyone has any questions, please proceed.
Yeah, and if you need time to think about it, reach out to the All In Technology guys. They absolutely have access to us here at WatchGuard all the time, so we're happy to engage with you. And we do really have a train with our marketing on it in Seattle. Yes, that is the Metro Rail in Seattle. It's branded WatchGuard as part of our sponsorship with the Climate Pledge Arena. We sponsor the Seattle Kraken and I think it's called the monorail in Seattle. So not Photoshop. I mean, it is Photoshop, but it is actually real. So
folks, for those of you that are still on, and again, thank you so much for the time today, everyone. Ryan, fantastic presentation, sir. We just want to let you know here with the All In IT team that we will be having some in-person events with the WatchGuard team coming up in the next couple of weeks. And so you should be seeing some invites to those as well. So please keep an eye out for save the dates. And we look forward to to the future events here coming in the next couple of weeks. But again, thank you guys so much. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact your All In IT AE. And we look forward to seeing you on the next PizzaCast down the road.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Nico and team too, for having us.
Of course.